Char Hebert, would you like to unmute?
There we go. Hi, Dr. Greer. Thanks for taking my question.
You're welcome.
My husband and I, just so that you know that your work is affecting people, we went to a CE5 last weekend in Asheville with Mark Hagerling. I think you met him earlier in June. Yeah, right. So we had really cool experiences there with him.
That was the birth of CE5. I was living there in Biltmore Forest next to Biltmore House, working as a doctor when all this started in 1990.
Wow. No, it was really, really cool to have that opportunity. And I've read, a couple of your books and seen your documentaries. And one of my burning questions is, you speak a lot about having like telepathic communication with the ET beings. I'd be very curious if you could kind of share a conversation that you had with one of them. Like, is it linear? Do you guys are they trying to show you the universe, or are you asking them questions? Are they? What's that like?
Well, there have been hundreds and hundreds of them since I was 18, and maybe before. But the ones that I find most profound are where it's you're literally there. It's you are there. I mean, and it's very clear, and it's all. I don't. The word abstract isn't quite accurate. It's all non-linear. So like you and I are picking words to express, whereas the way that I gather and have these experiences is I call it like a holographic packet of knowledge information that happens, and then it's just known, but it's because it's happening at a deeper level of consciousness. So if you look at the structure of consciousness, you can have this kind of conversation telepathically instead of verbally. But there's also a level which is called in the Vedas Ritam Barapragya, Ritam, which is a level of consciousness in the architecture of consciousness that is where all knowledge exists. So you can have an experience where an aspect of that all knowledge exists, Ritam, is conveyed. And actually, when I had my near-death experience, that's how it was. It was like these streaming packets of complete, pure knowledge that was non-verbal and non-visual. So we're always thinking in terms of vision, visual, or words. These experiences that I have had, now this is not everyone, are at that level of that sort of is more subtle and is in the deeper state of the structure of consciousness, very close to the field of the unbounded aspect, where there's the seed forms of all knowledge are. So let's say if you took the seed or the code of an oak tree, but it was conveyed in sort of a packet, but then you receive it as a packet, but you see the whole oak tree. Does this make sense? Or know the whole oak tree?
Yeah, so
I know this is getting a little bit esoteric, but you asked me a personal question, so now it's not to say that's how. Not all my experiences are like. Some of them are very visual and very linear, and you absolutely telepathically, or in some cases where a being is materialized, where it's just they're conveying it. And people go, how do they know English? They don't have to know English, because if you're communicating at this level I'm talking about, that's the universal translator. So from that level, it can then go from there and unfold into German or Swahili or French or English or what have you. So the ultimate universal translator is knowledge and information being conveyed at the pre-verbal, pre-visual level, which is an entire area of study, actually.
So it's really more, so when you have an exchange with them, it's really more, they have information, like they give you access to information that they feel that they would like to share with you. It's like, hey, we think you should know this, and here's a packet.
Right. Or I'm doing the reverse.
Okay.
Or asking them to do something, or what have you. Like one time I'm sitting here, the White House is right there, and the Washington Monument I'm looking at right now. But right the other way, going north, the structure next to this place is the 33rd degree Masonic temple, the top of which looks like a pyramid. A very strange place here. And DC is very weird, strange. condo that we have here. I'm on the top floor, and it was early morning, and an ET came into the bedroom. This was a few years ago, a couple years, and said very directly, and this was definitely an ET, and said, "You need to do more to reach people who are younger, 15 to 30s."
Wow.
It was very specific, and I put that out there, and all of a sudden you have people like Demi Lovato and doing this and reaching all these millennials and Generation Z, the ones that are even younger. So it there's a lot of back and forth like that I have happen, but it's also it happens sort of when it's supposed to.
Do you feel, like, I just want to ask a follow-up question. Do you feel that they, let's say, because you've been communicating with them for so long, they have an understanding of how much you know, like they don't have to keep sending you the same packets?
Yes,
do they understand?
Absolutely.
So that they keep adding to your level of knowledge
Yes.
and breadth of knowledge?
Yeah, and they know what I already have. No, I mean,
Okay.
I my knowledge is sufficient to do what I've done and what I'm going to do. It's more, at that point, it's more of a tactical or specific, or be here at this time, or here's something that's going on. Yeah.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
they're...
So, and you develop this relation. It's not with one ET, it's a whole bunch of different ones. But it's something, at this stage, it's sort of like a continuous state of relationship that happens on and off. And sometimes it's very physical. I mean, we'll be like one year at our New Year's Eve party out at the country house near University of Virginia out in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We're on 65 acres. And I go out on the porch, and it's overlooking these meadows and the mountains. And I'm with somebody, and I think we're having a scotch. It's like the 18 stays late. So the babies leave at 10 or midnight. This is at 2 a.m. I call them the babies. We do these expeditions. The babies go to bed at 1. Pat and I are up till 3 or 4 a.m. But I refer to my children and grandchildren as the babies because I'm like this curmudgeon who stays up till 4 a.m. and they're in bed at 9 or 10. But it's a very funny family. But we were talking about some of these ideas, and an interstellar transdimensional red sphere materialized on the edge of the porch by a maple tree, and everyone saw it. And it was very interactive with what we were saying and talking about, the state of consciousness that we were in, notwithstanding the scotch. We didn't have that much. But it sort of unfolds naturally. Once you get into this sort of groove and into the process, then it becomes a relationship that just unfolds just naturally.
Okay. And would you say that, so it sounds to me like they're helping you in sort of getting this message out, and that they're giving you tactical advice on, like, do this, do that, or is that just coming like in bits and pieces, or is that really, like, say, part of their mission and working with you on this?
Well, actually, everything I've done since March of 1973, when I was 17, was sort of known in these packets from the near-death experience. I never talked about this, but it all was bang there. But in other words, it was there very abstractly, and then as time goes on, it unpacks and unpacks and unpacks and unpacks. I think that's why I did not want to come back to the earth, but I asked the Great Spirit, what the intent was, and the intent was said, you should go back. So I did. I wasn't happy about it because I had no attachment to this world, given the horrific childhood I had. So I just, go see Mommy Dearest and Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte and a million other things. And my childhood was 10 times worse than any novel you've read. So I had no interest in being, on this plane at that point when I was 17. But so here we are, I'm 66. So almost, 49 years later. But I think that what we're looking at with that kind of experience, it's a very deep spiritual experience. And so what I experienced was this sort of downloading of packets, knowledge, information and details, but where it was a knowingness and the specificity of it unfolds as it's needed to. I've never really talked about this. Very unusual, but that's sort of how it happened. happens for me. It's very spontaneous. It's very spontaneous.
Okay.
So, good.
Very cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you. Thanks. Oh, glad you were in Asheville.
it. Me too.
Okay.
Do you remember in when we did the Demi Lovato thing in Joshua Tree? There was one night you and I were sitting out there having this discussion about consciousness,
Yes.
levels of consciousness, and the divine levels of consciousness, and
Right.
how many things flipped in and out and flew around. It was just absolutely amazing.
Nonstop. Yeah, exactly. It was nonstop. Well, the ETs very much respond when people are getting into the deeper and deeper knowledge of this, rather than getting, I want to see a spacecraft and kick its tires. That's not where the action is. I always tell people, if you really follow what we're talking about, it's all about consciousness, higher states of consciousness, the development of that capability. The rest of the stuff comes as a result, not the other way around. So most people are putting the cart before the horse. So people pay attention to the development of consciousness and heart, and the heart space, and the sort of the innocence and love and excitement and purity of consciousness, and follow that. All the rest of it happens as it can in this world, with all the limitations and exigencies that